So what if everything that you've been taught about the law has been keeping you stuck for the longest time? In fact, all of those affirmations and techniques are somehow delaying it without you even realizing it. This is a story of a wonderful individual who took the time to share in detail actually about her success with her SP. And it's truly, truly incredible because she went from complete, heartbreak and mental despair with her mental health as well. Everything just felt like it was crumbling. Years and years of trying so hard. This is her 8-year manifestation story. And of course, it didn't need to be delayed so long. But of course, unbeknownst to her, for so many of those years, she was just in the wrong place, in the wrong mindset. The law is working all the time. And of course, it was reflecting who she was, but she was not aware of it at this point until she stumbled across my channel. And I think maybe one video in particular, or maybe it was a few of them, that completely shifted everything for her. And she came across me in August. And now she's in a situation where she's getting marriage proposals from her SP. Despite no contact, despite a third party, despite all the obstacles that you could essentially throw in the way, it just didn't matter because we create all the obstacles. Like I always say to you, there are no obstacles except for the ones that you are focusing on, the ones that you are creating. And of course, a lot of these techniques, a lot of this mindset that everyone has where you have to keep trying, essentially, that you need to persist in these techniques and these affirmations, you don't realize that it's keeping you stuck. And the more effort you are putting in to think about your desire, to think positively of it, can't even talk, to think positively of it, to focus on it, this is actually keeping you stuck and delaying things in ways that you're not aware of. And I will do a video about persistence and letting go and what this actually means, and again, debunking some of these popular myths and misconceptions. But if you've got a while, because it's quite a long story that she shared here, then I ask you to join me. Put your listening ears on, because this is truly important. And she gives a lot of detail, even asking him, well, even telling him she was actually open that she was manifesting him. And what he had to say in response to that was really quite eye-opening as well, and something that I think we all need to pay attention to. So you have to stick around, stick till the end as well. And I'm going to break this story down too, because you might be surprised that literally the slightest of changes can make the biggest results in your 3D. I had that with my client today in the Discord community. She was just sharing with me this morning how much things had turned around with her SP, and they just spent a lovely evening together, or 5 hours or something together. A complete turnaround considering the day before or the day before that, she had said to me how it was just all going wrong. It was all cold. It was all nothingness. And it was because of her focus, very similarly to this story. And similar to a lot of you guys, I have noticed your focus and attention is so hyper on the SP. And I'm not surprised, because you have made this person your life. You've essentially said that my happiness and my self-worth and my clarity and my peace and my security, it's based on that person, that one person. Can you imagine how much pressure that sticks upon you? And so it's no wonder that we're grasping on for dear life to this one specific person. But this is not what this is about. And manifestation is not about doing it techniques to get this. It's not a transaction whereby I do X, Y, and Z and then they magically appear at my door. No, this goes further than that. And I've shared a video on what manifestation is and how it's not magic. In some ways, it is incredibly miraculous, yes. In other ways, it's actually very mundane and very normal. But it's based on our assumptions and our beliefs, and it works for everybody. Because I'm still seeing people saying, I couldn't manifest my SP, it's not worked for me. It's working for us 24/7, just like gravity is. You can't see gravity, but it's working for you. The law is essentially saying, as within, so without. However I'm feeling, whatever state I am occupying, whatever my assumptions and beliefs, where I am occupying my state of consciousness, I can only see and experience life through my state of consciousness, and that's all it is. It's not about getting things. That's a byproduct of the mirror of life. It's about being. It's about being it now. It's about what do I choose to believe and to assume? What stories do I tell myself about the world? Well, guess what? Life is going to reflect that immediately, as soon as I make that decision. And that's why for her it was so quick. That's why for this girl as well, so fast, as soon as she discovered my channel and turned things around within months, and that she was seeing complete changes. So are you ready? sit back, relax, grab yourself a hot drink. That's how we do it here. I'm on the coffee today, got my kitty cat mug, and my little friend Cedric here, bringing in the Christmas cheer all the way from Salzburg, thanks to my uncle. So, are you ready? Let's hear her story, how she went from heartbreak to marriage proposal, and the rest of, well, what I'm going to do is, because it's quite a long story, so I might skip some bits here and there, but for the whole story, go to my website. Links are in the description box below. All of your incredible success stories are there. I post all of it. I don't care if you're a viewer or a client of mine, or it was before you knew about the law, after you knew about the law. There's no nothing. There's no judgment. There's no limitation. Every single one of you has a success story to share. Every single one of you has the right to be heard and to revel in your success. Own your success. Own it now. My orders. Take in these juicy gems as well. Okay, you ready? So she starts off with, hello, lovely soul. At the very beginning, I would like to thank you very much for your dedication and your peace, which helps in manifesting and understanding this process. I found your teachings around August of this year, and I was really uplifted. I was really lifted up inside because everything started coming together after 8 years of trying to manifest my specific person. At the very beginning, I would like to say that I would like to write here about all the details, but there's simply too much of it. So my story with SP began when I met him by chance. Neither of us were specifically looking for love, considering the fact that I was 21 and he was 35. My mentality back then was quite infantile, very indecisive. And unfortunately, I was also very traumatized by life. Well, let's put it that way. I was dragged through the mud, I was exhausted, I was very hurt, and it was in that moment that I met my special person. I will also mention that he was also hurt and traumatized. When we first met, I knew right away that there would be something between us, and he knew it too, because he spoke about it very clearly and loudly. There were plans for the future, there were big words. I felt great love, and he was filled with this love. Unfortunately, I did not realize that he had very big financial problems and problems with his ex-girlfriend. Shortly after we met, he simply stopped talking to me. I was a complete mess. I was totally depressed. I also fell into anorexia and mental problems that pushed me to the point of hating myself. At one point, I even thought it was about my appearance, that maybe I wasn't pretty or shapely enough, even though he never said anything negative to me about my appearance. But unfortunately, this is how powerful the mind is, right? Unfortunately, my brain started creating such cruel scenarios that started giving me that feeling. My condition, which was cruel to my body and my psyche, lasted for 5 years. At some point, I came across a video about the SP manifestation. I was fascinated, but when after several months of various techniques that took up a lot of my time every day, nothing changed, and I was simply devastated, to put it mildly. I went back to a very famous manifestation teacher for help, but that person recommended me to do affirmations for my concept and for a specific person. I would like to mention that unfortunately it wasn't any good. I had the impression that my affirmations for a specific person simply had no effect. On the other hand, how could they help me? Since my mental state was really cruel, for example, I would affirm and meditate for 2 hours a day, imagine different scenes, and then I would get really paranoid that after so many years, nothing had happened. I should also mention that I have autism, and I was diagnosed before my 30th birthday. I had the impression that all these techniques made me even more paranoid because I couldn't understand why he did it. I kept asking myself the same question. For 5 years, my affirmations were very messed up because I couldn't understand in my mind why he did this to me. You can imagine that what I affirmed, I then automatically questioned in my internal dialogue in my head. It was like a mental prison because I couldn't understand that I had to work on myself and not for him. It was a path that was cruel to my mental health, because it was only after 5 years, when I found therapy, that I started working on myself, and I began to notice that I felt better in my life. I must also say that in the meantime, I had one manifestation teacher and then another coach, and they all told me the same thing, that I had to meditate and that I had to recreate scenes of meditation every day. I really thought I was doing everything wrong, because years passed and I wasn't getting any results. And you can imagine what I was going through, as my mind was questioning myself all the time. Unfortunately, at some point, a very wise person told me that these teachers were really damaging my self-confidence, because I was getting so much information from them that I was affirming wrong, that I'm meditating wrong, that there is something wrong with me, since after so many years I have no results. Wrong, wrong, wrong. I literally got feedback like this. When I asked the questions, what am I doing wrong? I will shamefully admit that I felt like crap back then. I stopped having contact with these coaches. And one day, when I already decided that nothing would change in this matter, I came across the video, Athena's video. You can literally believe me that I have plowed the entire internet for many, many years, looking for different techniques and explanations on how to attract this person. I used various meditation techniques, and I turned to various people who gave me subsequent techniques, in which, of course, I lost myself. I came across your video, my dear. I remember exactly, because it was August, and when I started listening to what you were saying, I had the impression that you were touching all of the notes in my heart. You're so sweet. I understood every word you said. And I knew literally what you were talking about. At the same time, I didn't know how to apply it to my life. As I said, I'm an autistic person. I lead a normal life. I have a normal job. Everything is fine. But unfortunately, I have some internal episodes. I don't understand many social interactions. I don't understand some of the people's sentences. I have to have my routine that I stick to, and that's why when I had the affirmation, I thought I was doing everything right, but I didn't pay attention to the fact that all of my affirmations were directed at my SP and not me. I also wanted to say that for 5 years, my affirmations were practically not affirmations, because I was only thinking about this person. I wasn't conducting any positive dialogue in my head. I kept asking myself why and what I did wrong. I blamed myself, of course. So it looked like I was thinking about him positively with love, but then 10 other thoughts appeared which were cruelly negative, and I even wanted to hang him at one point. She laughs. It took me a long time to process some of the information I heard from you. It was very thorough. It was very consistent, something I missed from other teachers. I must also say that I could listen to one video even 10 times to understand exactly what you mean. At some point, when I started applying all of this, my SP started to speak. Believe me or not, it was such a shock that my phone fell out of my hand. He called me, and then he pretended it was some strange accident. Do you know, I've heard that so many times. Oh, it was a butt dial. There's no such thing as accidents. He called me, pretended it was a strange accident. Of course, continuing the conversation with me and asking how I was doing, blah, blah. I was so moved, but panicked at the same time, that I kind of screwed up the conversation. He showed up and he told me he had a wife. So you can imagine, my heart was similarly broken and I didn't know how to deal with it. I was so mad about this conversation. I would say to him, to say that I spoke to him a little badly, I would tell him not to talk to me anymore and delete my number. Basically, our conversation went like this. He only spoke to say that he had a wife and to ruin everything that I was working on. I cried for a good few days, and then I decided that he wouldn't dictate to me what I felt, and that I was getting back on track. I felt a huge surge of strength. I focused only and exclusively on myself. I literally started to love myself for the first time in my life. I started to buy myself beautiful clothes. I started to take care of myself like never before. You can believe me, and thanks to your videos, I could believe in myself again and believe again that I am beautiful as I am. Here, I will also say that I never believed in my appearance because I was treated cruelly at school. I was bullied for 15 years, so my confidence was in ruins. Anyway, I focus on myself completely. I start dressing better. I started being a better person. I also started working with a therapist about my autism and understanding social interactions. I spoke to myself with beautiful words. I thought about beautiful things. But in the meantime, I started saying very light, very pleasant affirmations about SP. I also started to recreate interesting and pleasant dialogues between me and him, and I felt a huge surge of energy. And I felt like I had lost my energy by valuing this person for so many years. Internal dialogues, inner conversations, I told you they are so powerful. 7 years had passed, and suddenly he starts spying on me. It was strange because to me, he had always said he would never do that because it wasn't his style. We renewed contact very suddenly. He simply wrote to me that he never had his wife, and that he doesn't even know why he told me about that. He told me that he felt so lost because he knew I was out of his league and he didn't know how to get out of it, and he wanted to feel better. Great, right? The funny thing is that I affirmed that he never left, the funny thing is that I affirmed that he never had this wife and that it was a mistake, and he reflected everything I thought. He started complimenting me a lot. He said he never met a person like me and he couldn't forgive himself that so many years had passed and he wasn't even able to reward me for all of that. I was very surprised and calm, and at the same time, because he started to reflect everything that I already knew, honey, do you see the difference in my behavior? At the very beginning, I was paranoid. I was very afraid to talk to him, and in this moment, I was calm. I was balanced. I understood that I had kept him on a pedestal for so many years and that he shouldn't be there. I understood, thanks to your teachings, that the moment someone jumps on that pedestal, we already have a problem. You can imagine that my affirmations or visualizations were very natural. When I was washing the dishes, when I was taking a shower, when I was exercising, I imagined the ring on my finger for 3 days. Oh my God, use the passive imagination technique, yes. It is very important that for 3 days in the evenings, I usually replayed the story of how we were laying in bed, talking to each other, and I had a ring. Then it was just so natural that I was fully saturated. And of course, he reflected it to me and said that we should get married. I only imagined the moment when we were already in a full-blown relationship and I no longer cared about the messages I wanted to manifest earlier. I think she fell into the bandwagon of wanting to manifest text messages. Is that right, hon? I started to feel empowered. I started to feel like I was finally out of a cage, like I was out of a mental prison. And he literally reflected everything I said and believed about myself. My dear, I tried to manifest a stupid message that led to nowhere before. I thought about it after watching your video. What the hell am I doing? I don't have to manifest some stupid message. I got in the visualization of a stable relationship. You're probably wondering what my routine was. The funniest thing is, it never existed since I met your video. I was just thinking about the end result and having a very loving conversation in my head about it. And I was no longer at war. I didn't accuse him of anything, and I didn't ask, why did you do it? I was balanced and I said, I forgive you. Can I just say, you see, and I've got the 2 videos about it already. I think the link is in the description box, so make sure it's there. But inner conversations, doing it whilst passively, in a state of passivity, in a state of trance, when you're on autopilot, washing dishes, hoovering the house, walking to work, something that you do every day that you just tap out, you don't think about it, that is the time. Inner conversations are extremely powerful. Look how much it changed her world. It did that for my clients as well. SP came in the next day. There's something very similar with regards to this. I will get to it. But this is just incredible. So it's helped her to forgive, because now whatever her inner conversations were, it gave her that closure enough to process what had happened, why he went ghost, and feeling like she'd been rejected. So it's been 8 years and it was really better than ever before, because I'm a better person. because I saw that all of this comes from our energy. And when we are in a very low state, we only receive scraps. Yeah, it was lazy. It was very natural, very unforced, and everything started to fall into place. Of course, I knew that I screwed everything up for 5 years. But then when I understood that it all comes from us and that we have to change so that everything around us changes, then believe me, everything has changed. Our meeting after many years was very strange because I hadn't seen him for so many years that I forgot what he looked like almost. It turned out that he had cut his long hair. I didn't recognize him because he was athletic and took good care of himself before. And now he looked, this is a kind way to put it, well, definitely much, much different. I'll leave that to the imagination of what he must have looked like. But he told me that I had changed a lot over the years and that I had not only grown up, but I had become even more beautiful and that something had changed in my energy. He told me that I made him feel like a grandfather and that he really needed to start taking care of himself. He told me about everything that was happening in his life during those years when I was trying to manifest him. And I think I will write something very valid. When I tried to manifest messages from him, he told me that he wanted to send the message, but then he backed out. He wanted to send, and then he withdrew, literally like my energy towards him back then. He told me that he felt, listen to this, it's exactly the same as my other client as well, who was doing inner arguments with her SP. This is what she was doing at that time. And he said he felt aggression from me. That's why he backed out of messaging her. He felt he had screwed up completely and he felt that I would never forgive him. Gosh, isn't that fascinating? He also told me that he had very low self-confidence from me when we met. And at the same time, he felt so low that he knew we were not capable of building anything. He told me that he left for someone who was a narcissist. So that's the reason why he went ghost in the first place. You see, it wasn't anything about her. It was about him. It's something important to remember there, guys. You always blame yourself for being ghosted like it's something you did wrong. So he told me he left for someone who was a narcissist because he thought that that person would make him feel better. But in the end, this woman made him fall into an even worse state of depression, and he started to wonder what he had done to break off contact with me. Wow, right? I will also mention that he did not speak to me during all of those years because he was simply afraid of me, and he told me this directly. He told me that he couldn't offer me anything and that after so many years when he saw how I blossomed, he simply felt stupid and he wanted to get back at me saying that he had a wife. He told me that he wanted to come. He told me that he wanted to come and then he withdrew. He wanted to come and then he withdrew. And it was like that. For many years, he couldn't talk to me because he felt a wall. It gave me a lot to think about because that's exactly what I was doing all these years. I should also mention that I had various upheavals in my life in the meantime. When I fell into anorexia and depression, I couldn't manifest because I simply had dark thoughts about myself all the time. And because it lasted so long, it dragged on and on. Anyways, when we get back together after so many years, of course, he started to reflect everything I was thinking, but I started to question if he was the person for me. The thing is that I have changed a lot and I've understood so many things that my approach is also different, and he simply stayed in the same place where he left me. When I met him after so many years, I no longer saw the idealized man that I had seen 8 years ago. I saw a guy who had very big problems, who was insecure. At the very beginning of our relationship, I was proud of him and I thought that I was not the one for him because he was so wonderful and I was a grey mouse. When we met, I was the person who was under a big tracksuit, who had a lot of complexes, and he was all shiny and wonderful, or so I thought. Of course, 8 years ago, I felt not good enough to be in a relationship with him, and of course, that caused him to leave. But you can imagine that I was constantly questioning myself and saying, he deserves someone better. Yes, he was in a strange relationship, and he told me that in each relationship, he was looking for me, and he was looking for my approach, my warmth, my light. At this point where we were, I can say with full responsibility that we are in a relationship. He started processing his traumas and he started processing his life. He also began to understand manifestation, and he told me directly that he now knows exactly that our energies could not meet at that time because we simply pushed each other away. I talked to him about manifestation and I said that I had been trying to manifest him for so many years. And do you know what he told me? That he felt a huge pressure from me. He felt that he should do something, but he felt cruelly trapped by me. My energy that most likely wanted too much. When I moved away slightly, and 80% were affirmations about me and the other 20% were affirmations about him and finances, he suddenly woke up. I must also say that my affirmations always started with I am. I didn't write anything specific down. I just became who I started to think I was. I started to think very well of myself. My character became stronger. If you ask me if affirmations work for everyone, I would say no. I think this lazy technique that you often mention is amazing. So she's talking about the passive imagination technique, my lazy way of manifesting, because it's so easy to impress your unconscious. I've been testing it more and more. I've impressed myself immediately with insane things. And literally lately, it's been the next day. It has been reflected. It is so mad. So that's amazing. If you're like me, if you have trouble processing certain information, or if you have a problem with mental blockage, do it in a very relaxed way, in a non-invasive way. Everything that I visualized in a short time, August this year, everything has started to come true. It's only December and he started to send me marriage proposals and moving in together proposals. Can you believe it? Imagine that. Since August when she found me to December, all of this has transpired based on passive imagining, based on changing inner conversations, based on making her affirmations and everything. It was all about her fixing self, and changing how she viewed him. But this time, I need to know if I want it at all. I worked on myself a lot. I devoted a lot of time to myself. I spent 5 years on him, and I really didn't think about myself at the time. I was convinced that he was so idealized and so perfect, but it turned out that he was not like that at all. And I was a bit disappointed in the end. My manifestation was successful even after 8 years. Now it's just a matter of whether or not I still want it. And I remember, not every coach is a good coach to teach this technique. I think, Athena, you are an incredibly warm person and you approach people more psychologically than others do. You approach them as individuals. Your techniques work because we can't even call ourselves techniques. They are so natural. They result from the state of things. I want to tell you literally everything here, but I probably left out some important points. Once again, thank you with all my heart for how much you put into your videos. I'm so grateful I came across you. It changed my life. Thank you so, so much, darling. And thank you for going into that detail. Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing? You see, well, oh my God, what is it called? Pareto's principle? Is that what it was called? It's gone out my mind, for goodness sake. The fact that, is it 80%? No. 20% of the work accounts for 80% of the result or something. Essentially, what I'm saying with regards to that is that you guys are trying too hard. Many of you are. Not all of you, especially if you've been following me for a while now. Subscribe, like, stay in this community if you want success, guys, because this is the thing. I share everything here with you. I'm giving it to you on a plate. I'm breaking it down. There's no membership here on the channel. All the videos freely accessible to all of you. And I'm literally hand-holding you through this because I swear to God, when I say to you, it can be as simple as just whilst you're going for a walk, or you're just about to doze off, or you're in the shower, changing your internal conversations, imagining, visualizing, focusing on yourself. It's not about SP. It's not about changing them. If you focus too much on the outside and trying to change the outside, what happens is you get caught in a loop. You get trapped. Because I'm trying to change something on the outside which is already manifest. It's done. It's finished. This is done with. It's just my mirror. Why am I fighting with my reflection at the moment? When have you guys ever fought with your reflection and told your reflection to change and sat there looking at yourself in the mirror, waiting for your mirror reflection to change? Why hasn't it changed? Why hasn't it changed? we're the ones who have to change. And I know that you hear that over and over again. And I'm running out of different ways to say it so that it will sink in. But this is why I'm getting you guys to write down these juicy gems right now. Write it down in the comments, what's sticking out to you, because there's some incredible things here. Her insights were incredibly valuable. And you can see, even from the perspective of SP, which I know from my clients before as well, that one that I've shared, I'm still waiting for him to share his success. I'm still waiting. But similarly, he had done everything right, but he had not yet forgiven his SP because he had not processed that old story fully enough. He was still mentally, internally arguing. And if you want a really powerful technique, inner conversations, like I say, I've done a whole video dedicated to it. It's all there, it's accessible, it's free. Go check it out and spend some time with really understanding what it is that you want at the core of it. Stop putting all of your emphasis and all of your happiness on one person to show you that attention and that love. It's not about them, it's about you. And it's about also manifesting what you want. Do you want a loving relationship? Then go for that relationship. Leave out the text messages. Leave out the I want them to come to my Christmas party. Who cares about Christmas parties and text messages? If you want a commitment, then you have to go to the end. You have to go to feeling that commitment. And the reason you do that is because that's the hunger within you. That's the desire. That's what you need to satiate. And this is what's so incredible about the journey, because there's so much self-growth. It wasn't just about manifesting her SP. This was about her healing. This was about her own self-concept, her own change. And congratulations, darling, on that incredible shift, on healing yourself from anorexia and everything else that you were going through. You are truly incredible, like all of you are. Please take the time to share your success stories. All of them are in my on my website. No matter who you are, I share your success. Revel in it, own it. It's all on my website. Links in the description box. And if you want that additional support, we've got our Discord community. I'm offering group coaching as well for those of you on a budget. Right now, whilst it's a small group as well, it's the best time so you get more of that intimate connection. We're going to do a hypnosis this week as well, SP related group hypnosis. So I'm sending you guys loads and loads of love. You don't have to do this alone. Remember that. And just ask yourself every day, where is my attention and focus? Where is my attention and focus? Is it on self? Is it on occupying the state? Am I too busy wondering what they're up to? Loads of love to you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.